The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the familiar hum of translation devices as representatives from 47 species gathered for their monthly assessment meeting. High above the crystalline dome, 3 moons cast their pale light through the transparent ceiling, creating dancing shadows across the circular assembly floor. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vortak Empire adjusted his ceremonial robes and cleared his throat with a sound like grinding stone. His forearms gestured dramatically as he addressed the assembly, his voice carrying the authority of a species that had conquered 12 star systems. Esteemed colleagues, Zethkar began, his translator rendering his words into dozens of languages simultaneously. Today we discuss the newest species to achieve faster-than-light travel. The humans of Sol 3. A ripple of what could generously be called laughter passed through the chamber. The crystalline hivemind's representative chimed like breaking glass, while the gas-based ethereals created a sound resembling wind through a graveyard. Humans, repeated Ambassador Flux of the hegemony, her tentacles writhing with amusement. The bipedal mammals from that tiny yellow star? Surely you jest, Zethkar. The Vortak's eyes narrowed. I do not jest. 3 of their primitive vessels have been detected beyond their system's edge. They call them exploration ships. Exploration, scoffed High Researcher Clixen of the Academic Collective. His insectoid features clicked with disdain. We've observed this species for 2 standard cycles. They barely qualify as sentient. Their bodies are laughably fragile, their technology crude, and their social structures chaotic. A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, displaying a 3-dimensional human figure. The assembled aliens studied it with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright mockery. Look at this pathetic form, continued Clixen, his mandibles clicking rapidly. Single-chambered hearts that fail under the slightest stress. Respiratory systems that cease functioning if their atmospheric composition varies by mere percentages. Skeletal structures so weak that a simple fall can shatter them. They lack natural armor, possess no venom, have pitiful bite force, and their reaction times are slower than a dying Plutonian slug. Their average lifespan is barely a tenth of ours, added Ambassador Viridian of the Longevity Coalition. They age rapidly, their bodies deteriorating almost from the moment of birth. How such a short-lived, fragile species achieved space travel is beyond comprehension. Ambassador Zethkar nodded grimly. Indeed. Their weakness is so pronounced that we initially classified them as a prey species. No natural weapons, no protective carapace, no energy manipulation abilities. They can't even survive in most galactic environments without bulky life support systems. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien laughter. Some species expressed amusement through bioluminescent flashing, others through ultrasonic frequencies that made the translator system struggle to keep up. Perhaps, suggested Ambassador Flux, her voice dripping with condescension, we should establish a nature preserve for them. Keep them safe in their little solar system like the protected fauna they clearly are. The question, interrupted High Researcher Clixen, is whether we should even acknowledge their existence. By all biological standards, they should have died out eons ago. Their homeworld is a death trap: active geology, extreme weather patterns, gravity too strong for proper development, and an atmosphere that would be toxic to most civilized species. Don't forget the radiation, added Ambassador Viridian. Their star bombards their planet with enough energy to kill most of us outright. Yet somehow, these fragile creatures not only survive but thrive. Thrive is too generous, scoffed Zethkar. They're constantly at war with each other. We've detected over 300 active conflicts on their planet at any given time. They waste resources fighting among themselves instead of advancing their civilization. Clearly, they lack the intelligence for peaceful coexistence. The ethereal representative manifested a temporary form to speak. Perhaps their aggression is a compensation mechanism for their physical inadequacy. Many primitive species resort to violence when they lack other capabilities. Their technology reflects their limitations, observed High Researcher Clixen. Chemical propulsion systems that barely qualify as spaceflight. They still use controlled explosions to leave their planet's surface. Their computers are clunky mechanical devices compared to our biotech systems. Even their weapons are primitive projectile throwers. Yet, Ambassador Zethkar said slowly, they have reached the stars. Somehow. A moment of silence fell over the chamber. This was the puzzle that had brought them together. By all logical assessment, humans should have been extinct long ago. Their physiology was unsuited for their environment, their technology was primitive, and their social structures were chaotic. Yet here they were, venturing beyond their solar system in ships that, while crude, were undeniably functional. Perhaps, suggested Ambassador Flux, we should investigate. If only to understand how such a flawed species managed this achievement. It might provide insights into evolutionary anomalies. Investigation implies they're worth studying, replied Clixen dismissively. I suggest we simply ignore them. They'll likely destroy themselves within a few generations anyway. Their aggressive tendencies and fragile biology make extinction inevitable. Agreed, said several voices in unison. But Zethkar wasn't entirely convinced. There's something we're missing. No species this week survives on a death world like Earth. No species this primitive develops space travel without superior guidance. Yet our observations confirm both facts. Fluke evolution, declared Ambassador Viridian. Statistical anomalies occur. Eventually, the universe corrects such mistakes. The crystalline hive mind chimed in agreement. Consensus: humans are biological aberration. Recommendation: minimal observation, no contact. Expected outcome: self-extinction within acceptable timeframe. As the session continued, the assembled aliens grew more confident in their assessment. Humans were weak, short-lived, poorly designed creatures who had somehow stumbled into space travel through pure chance. They posed no threat and offered nothing of value to galactic civilization. I motion, declared Clixen, that we classify humans as a Class 7 species, primitive, harmless, and unworthy of inclusion in galactic affairs. Let them play in their little corner of space until natural selection corrects this evolutionary error. The motion passed unanimously. But, as the representatives filed out of the chamber, chattering about more important matters, none noticed the small human vessel that had been observing from the system's edge. Its passive sensors had recorded everything, its primitive but effective computers had decoded their languages, and its crew had listened to every word. Captain Sarah Chan reviewed the recording for the third time, her jaw clenched tight. Around her, the bridge crew of the exploration vessel Endeavour worked quietly, processing the implications of what they'd discovered. So, said Commander Martinez, the ship's first officer, we're apparently too weak to be worth their attention. Class 7 species, added Dr. Patel from the science station. Primitive, harmless, and unworthy of inclusion. Captain Chen stood slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. They think our biology makes us inferior. They think our short lives make us insignificant. They think our supposed fragility makes us harmless. Should we report this to Earth Command? Asked Lieutenant Zhao from Communications. Chen was quiet for a long moment, watching the distant lights of the alien vessels as they departed the system. Oh, we'll report it. But, first, let's give them something to really study. She turned to her crew, and, for the first time in hours, she smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. They want to observe our biology? Let's show them what this fragile human biology can really do. Dr. Patel, I want you to analyze everything we just learned about these species. Their physiology, their technology, their assumptions about warfare and conflict. Ma'am, Dr. Patel said slowly, are you suggesting we engage them? I'm suggesting, Chen replied, that we demonstrate why evolution made us the way we are. They see weakness where they should see optimization. They see fragility where they should see efficiency. They see primitiveness where they should see adaptability. Commander Martinez leaned forward. What are your orders, Captain? Chen returned to her command chair, her eyes never leaving the viewscreen showing the alien fleet. Set course for their nearest outpost. It's time these superior species learned something about human biology that their fancy sensors missed. And, what's that, ma'am? That everything they think makes us weak actually makes us the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. The Endeavour changed course, its primitive chemical engines pushing the small vessel toward its destination. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their journey home, completely unaware that their dismissive assessment had just triggered something they were utterly unprepared for. In the depths of space, humanity's first contact with galactic civilization had begun not with diplomacy or trade, but with the gravest possible miscalculation. The aliens had looked at human biology and seen weakness. They were about to discover that they had mistaken the universe's greatest predator for prey. And, in the cold vacuum between the stars, Captain Chen's smile grew wider. The Hegemony Research Station Epsilon 7 floated serenely in the void, its bioluminescent hull pulsing with the steady rhythm of a living organism. Ambassador Flux supervised the facility's operations from her command chamber, her tentacles interfacing directly with the station's neural networks. The station served as a forward observation post, monitoring primitive species that might eventually develop into threats or trading partners. Currently, 12 different civilizations fell under their scrutiny, though none had proven particularly interesting. Until today. Ambassador chirped Research Coordinator Zix, his insectoid form scuttling across the chamber's organic walls. We're detecting an anomalous signature approaching the station. Flux's attention shifted to the sensor displays. Define anomalous. It's a human vessel, ma'am. Single ship, approximately 60 meters in length. But the energy signature is unusual. Unusual how? Flux's tentacles writhed with curiosity. I thought human technology was primitive chemical propulsion. That's just it, Ambassador. The ship appears to be using chemical propulsion, but the energy output suggests modifications we don't understand. The vessel is also approaching at a velocity that should be impossible for their technology. Flux considered this. According to their observations, human ships were slow, clumsy affairs barely capable of interplanetary travel. Yet the sensor readings showed this vessel moving at nearly 10% of light speed. Perhaps they've made an unexpected technological leap, she mused. Broadcast a standard greeting. Let's see what these feeble humans want. The communication came almost instantly, transmitted on primitive electromagnetic frequencies but with surprising clarity. Hegemony Research Station, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Endeavour. I request permission to dock and discuss matters of mutual importance. Flux exchanged glances with her research coordinator. The human's voice carried confidence that seemed inconsistent with their species' supposed primitiveness. Captain Chen, Flux responded, your species is not yet recognized by galactic civilization. By what authority do you make this request? By the authority of a species that's been watching you watch us, Ambassador Flux. A chill ran through the chamber. The human knew her name, knew her rank, and implied they'd been conducting surveillance of their own. That should have been impossible. You will explain this claim immediately, Flux demanded, her tentacles darkening with agitation. I'd prefer to do so in person. My ship carries information that will interest your researchers greatly. Information about human biology that your observations have missed. Despite her better judgment, Flux found herself curious. The Galactic Council had classified humans as harmless, but this Captain Chen displayed a confidence that suggested otherwise. Very well. You may dock in Bay 7. But be aware that this station maintains automated defense systems that will activate if you pose any threat. Understood. And, Ambassador? You might want to have your medical staff on standby. The communication ended, leaving Flux staring at the view screen in confusion. Medical staff? What did this human mean by that? 30 minutes later, Captain Chen strode through the station's corridors as if she owned the place. Flux had expected to meet with a being in a bulky environmental suit, struggling to survive in the station's atmosphere. Instead, the human wore only a simple breathing mask and what appeared to be standard clothing. Impossible, whispered Research Coordinator Zix. The atmospheric pressure here would crush most species. The radiation levels alone should be lethal to human physiology. But Chen showed no signs of distress as she entered the conference chamber. She was a medium-sized female of her species, with dark hair tied back functionally and eyes that seemed to miss nothing. When she removed her breathing mask, revealing that she'd been breathing the station's atmosphere through a simple filter, several of the research staff made sounds of disbelief. Captain Chen, Flux said carefully, how is it that you're surviving in our environment? Our research indicates that humans require very specific atmospheric conditions. Chen smiled, and there was something predatory in the expression. That's one of the things we need to discuss, Ambassador. It seems your research has some significant gaps. She activated a device that projected a three-dimensional image into the chamber. The display showed a human body, but, unlike the simplified models the aliens were familiar with, this one included incredible detail. You've been studying humans for 2 years, Chen began, but you've only observed us from a distance. You've never actually analyzed what makes us tick. The image zoomed in on the human circulatory system. You noted that we have single-chambered hearts that fail under stress. What you missed is that our cardiovascular system is designed for efficiency under extreme conditions. That fragile heart can increase its output by up to 6 times normal rate when needed. Flux's tentacles twitched with interest despite herself. That would require enormous stress tolerance. Exactly. Now watch this. The display shifted to show the muscular system. You observed that we lack natural armor and have limited physical strength. But you failed to analyze our muscle fiber composition. The image highlighted specific tissue types. Human muscles contain both slow-twitch and fast-twitch fibers in proportions that allow for both endurance and explosive power. Under stress conditions, humans can exhibit strength levels that exceed our normal capabilities by factors of 3 to 5. Adrenaline response, added Chen. A chemical system that turns ordinary humans into temporary superorganisms. Increased strength, enhanced reflexes, reduced pain sensitivity, and improved healing rates. Research coordinator Zik scuttled closer to the display. But surely this comes at a tremendous biological cost? Some, Chen admitted. But humans evolved on what you correctly identified as a death world. Every system in our bodies is designed to handle extreme stress, repair damage quickly, and adapt to hostile conditions. The display shifted again, showing the human respiratory system. You noted that our breathing stops if atmospheric composition varies. What you didn't realize is that humans can consciously control their breathing to function in environments that would kill most galactic species. Chen calmly removed her breathing mask entirely. The chamber's atmosphere contained nitrogen compounds that should have been toxic to human physiology, yet she continued speaking without apparent difficulty. Breath control, oxygen efficiency, and carbon dioxide tolerance allow humans to function in conditions you'd consider lethal. We can hold our breath for minutes at a time, regulate our body temperature through breathing patterns, and even slow our heart rates to conserve oxygen. This is impossible, insisted Zix. No biological system could be so adaptable. That brings us to the most important point, Chen said, replacing her mask. You've been studying us as if we're just another galactic species. You missed the fundamental truth about human biology. She manipulated the controls, and the display showed a split screen comparing human anatomy to several alien species. Every species in the Galactic Council evolved on relatively stable worlds with predictable conditions. Your biology is optimized for your specific environments. Humans evolved on a planet that was actively trying to kill us. The display showed Earth's geological activity, weather patterns, and radiation levels. Volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, ice ages, asteroid impacts, solar flares. For millions of years, Earth subjected early humans to every possible environmental threat. Only the most adaptable survived. But, you're so fragile, protested Flux. Your bones break, your skin tears, your organs fail. Our bones break but heal stronger than before. Our skin tears but regenerates. Our organs fail but we often continue functioning anyway. Shen's voice carried a note of pride. Human biology isn't designed for perfection. It's designed for survival. She activated another image sequence showing human healing processes. Wound healing that begins within seconds of injury. Immune systems that adapt to new threats. Nervous systems that reroute around damage. Humans don't survive because we're tough. We survive because we're impossibly resilient. The most important factor, Chen continued, is neuroplasticity. Human brains physically rewire themselves based on experience. We adapt not just physically but mentally to any challenge. Research coordinator Zix's mandibles clicked nervously. You're suggesting that humans are designed for hostile environments. I'm not suggesting it. I'm stating it as fact. Chen's expression hardened. You called us feeble because you only saw us during peacetime. You never observed humans under stress. And what would we see under stress? Flux asked, though she was beginning to suspect she didn't want to know. Chen smiled again, and this time several aliens in the chamber stepped backward instinctively. Let me demonstrate. Without warning, Chen struck the conference table with her bare hand. The impact shattered the bioplastic surface and sent fragments flying across the chamber. But, more disturbing than the destruction was Chen's reaction to it. She was faster than she'd been moments before. Her pupils were dilated, her breathing controlled, and, where her hand should have been bleeding from striking the table, the wounds were already beginning to close. Adrenaline response, she explained calmly, though her voice now carried an edge that made the translators struggle. Enhanced strength, speed, and healing. Reduced pain sensitivity. Heightened awareness. She looked around the chamber, and every alien present suddenly understood that they were in the presence of a predator. This is what humans become under stress. This is our natural state when threatened. And, Ambassador Flux? Your dismissive comments about human biology have placed my species under stress. The silence in the chamber was absolute. You see us as fragile because you've only observed us in our resting state. But, humans aren't designed to rest. We're designed to overcome challenges that would destroy other species. Chen activated a final image sequence showing human athletic performance, military training, and survival scenarios. Humans can run for hours without stopping. We can survive for weeks without food, days without water. We can function with injuries that would incapacitate other species. We can adapt to environments ranging from Arctic cold to desert heat to high-altitude low-oxygen conditions. And, most importantly, she concluded, when threatened, we don't just fight back. We innovate. We adapt. We overcome. Research Coordinator Zix found his voice. But, your technology is still primitive compared to ours. Is it? Chen asked. Your bioships are impressive, but they require specific environmental conditions to function. Your energy weapons are powerful, but they depend on complex focusing systems. Your communication networks are sophisticated, but they rely on predictable infrastructure. She gestured to her simple clothing and basic equipment. Human technology is designed to function anywhere, under any conditions, with minimal maintenance. It's not advanced because it doesn't need to be advanced. It's optimized for reliability. You're suggesting, Flux said slowly, that human primitiveness is actually an advantage? I'm stating, Chen corrected, that you mistake simplicity for weakness. Human weapons use chemical explosives because they work in any environment. Human ships use chemical propulsion because it's reliable and doesn't depend on exotic materials. Human communication uses electromagnetic radiation because it functions under any conditions. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Your species evolved in paradise and built technology for paradise. Humans evolved in hell and built technology for hell. Which do you think is more versatile? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Around the chamber, the research staff exchanged uncertain glances. Everything they thought they knew about human biology was being systematically dismantled. There's more, Chen said, and her smile suggested that the worst revelations were yet to come. Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped through the docking tube connecting the Endeavour to the Hegemony research station, carrying equipment that made several alien researchers step back in alarm. The devices in her hands appeared crude by galactic standards, metal boxes with simple displays and mechanical controls, but something about her confident handling of them suggested they were more dangerous than they looked. Ambassador Flux, Captain Chen said, I'd like you to meet Dr. Vasquez, our xenobiology specialist. She's going to demonstrate why your biological assessments of humanity need immediate revision. Dr. Vasquez was a compact woman with graying hair and the weathered hands of someone who'd spent years working in hostile environments. She set up her equipment with practiced efficiency while the alien researchers watched nervously. Captain Chen has explained our cardiovascular and muscular adaptations, Dr. Vasquez began, but she barely scratched the surface. The real story of human biology begins with our neural architecture. She activated a scanner that projected a three-dimensional image of a human brain. Unlike the simplified models the aliens were familiar with, this display showed activity patterns in real time. Most galactic species have specialized neural structures, Dr. Vasquez continued. Crystalline minds process information linearly. Hive minds share processing loads. Gas-based consciousness experiences reality in quantum states. Very efficient, very specialized. The brain image rotated slowly, showing different regions lighting up in complex patterns. Human brains are different. We have massive redundancy, multiple processing pathways, and something no other known species possesses, conscious access to normally unconscious biological functions. Research Coordinator Zix clicked his mandibles skeptically. Consciousness cannot directly control autonomic systems. That's a biological impossibility. Dr. Vasquez smiled. Watch carefully. She attached sensors to her own body, pulse monitors, breathing gauges, brain activity scanners. The displays showed normal human baseline readings. Heart rate, 72 beats per minute. Breathing, 14 cycles per minute. Brain activity, standard alpha wave patterns. Then, without warning, the readings began to change. Her heart rate dropped to 40 beats per minute. Her breathing slowed to 6 cycles per minute. Her brain activity shifted into patterns the aliens had never seen before. This is basic meditation, Dr. Vasquez explained calmly, her voice steady despite the dramatic changes in her physiology. Conscious control of autonomic functions. Every human can learn this. Impossible, whispered Ambassador Flux. No biological system allows conscious override of survival functions. Human systems do. Dr. Vasquez's heart rate continued dropping. We can consciously control heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, pain perception, immune response, and even healing rates. She activated another scanner that showed her circulation patterns. I'm now redirecting blood flow away from non-essential organs and toward my brain and major muscle groups. This is a technique human warriors have used for thousands of years. The readings showed blood flow patterns that should have been controlled only by involuntary reflexes. But, the real demonstration, Dr. Vasquez continued, requires showing you what humans can do under actual stress. She looked at Captain Chen, who nodded grimly. Dr. Vasquez volunteered for this demonstration despite the risks, Chen explained. She's going to show you human biology under combat conditions. Combat conditions? Ambassador Flux's tentacles writhed with alarm. We cannot permit, you're not permitting anything, Chen interrupted. You're observing. Dr. Vasquez, initiate Protocol 7. Dr. Vasquez pressed a control on one of her devices. Immediately, every alarm in the chamber began screaming. Toxin release, she announced calmly. The air in this chamber now contains a chemical compound that's lethal to human physiology. I have approximately 4 minutes before it kills me. The alien researchers scattered toward the chamber's exits, but Dr. Vasquez's voice stopped them. Don't leave. You need to see this. Her vital signs began changing rapidly. Heart rate spiked to over 200 beats per minute. Adrenaline levels showed readings that should have been fatal. Brain activity exploded into patterns the monitoring equipment could barely track. But she remained standing, alert, and fully functional. This is what you failed to observe, she explained, her voice now carrying an edge of controlled aggression. Humans under lethal stress don't just survive. We excel. She moved to another piece of equipment, and the aliens were shocked to see that her reflexes had increased dramatically. Her movements were faster, more precise, and carried a lethality that hadn't been present moments before. Enhanced reflexes, improved coordination, pain suppression, accelerated healing. She held up her hand, showing where she'd cut herself on the equipment. The wound was already closing. Under stress, humans become more than human. But, the toxin, stammered research coordinator Zix. You said it was lethal. To normal human physiology, yes. But, humans under extreme stress can consciously modify their own biology. Dr. Vasquez activated another scanner that showed her liver and kidney functions. I'm currently neutralizing the toxin through controlled metabolic changes. The readings showed organ functions operating at levels that should have been impossible. Conscious control of immune response, liver detoxification, and cellular repair. This is what human biology can do when pushed to its limits. You're consciously controlling your own biochemistry, Ambassador Flux said in disbelief. Basic survival training, Dr. Vasquez replied. Every human military unit learns these techniques. Poison resistance, wound healing, stress enhancement. We don't just adapt to hostile environments. We thrive in them. She moved to a final piece of equipment, and, when she activated it, the chamber filled with images that made every alien present recoil in horror. Human history, Dr. Vasquez announced. Actual historical footage of humans under stress. The images showed human soldiers continuing to fight with injuries that should have been fatal. Workers functioning in environments that should have killed them instantly. Athletes performing feats that defied known biological limitations. This footage is from our own historical records, Captain Chen added. Humans fighting in conditions ranging from Arctic cold to desert heat to high radiation zones. Humans working in environments that would kill most galactic species instantly. One image showed human deep-sea workers functioning under pressure that would crush most alien species. Another showed mountain climbers operating in oxygen levels so low that most galactic species would suffocate immediately. But, the most important footage, Dr. Vasquez said, shows humans under psychological stress. The images shifted to show human emergency responders working in disaster zones, human medical personnel treating plague victims, human parents protecting their children from predators. Under psychological stress, humans don't just become physically enhanced. We become smarter, faster, more creative, and utterly relentless. This is propaganda, declared research coordinator Zix. No biological system can produce such extreme modifications. Dr. Vasquez smiled, and there was something terrifying in her expression. Would you like a personal demonstration? Without waiting for an answer, she activated a device that filled the chamber with a low-frequency sound. Within seconds, every alien in the room was writhing in discomfort. Subsonic frequency specifically calibrated to disrupt non-human nervous systems, she explained calmly while the aliens struggled to maintain their composure. Human hearing range allows us to generate sounds that can incapacitate most galactic species. She adjusted the frequency slightly, and several aliens collapsed. This is what you get when you evolve on a planet where everything is trying to kill you. You develop capabilities that seem impossible to species that evolved in safer environments. Stop, gasped Ambassador Flux. We understand your point. The sound ceased, but Dr. Vasquez wasn't finished. That was just acoustic warfare. Humans have also developed biological warfare, chemical warfare, psychological warfare, and information warfare. All based on our understanding of how different species' biologies respond to specific stimuli. She began packing up her equipment with the same casual efficiency she'd shown when setting it up. You studied human biology from a distance and concluded we were weak, she said. But, you never considered what evolutionary pressures created that biology. Captain Chen stepped forward. Dr. Vasquez has just demonstrated basic human capabilities that any of our species can develop with proper training. She's not an enhanced individual. She's not a super soldier. She's a standard human researcher. But, there's something else you need to understand, Dr. Vasquez added, shouldering her equipment pack. Everything I just showed you represents human biology in isolation. Individual capabilities of a single human operating alone. She paused at the chamber's exit, looking back at the assembled alien researchers. Humans don't operate alone. We're social creatures. Our real strength isn't individual biology. It's collective biology. What do you mean? Ambassador Flux asked, though her voice suggested she was afraid of the answer. I mean, Dr. Vasquez replied, that everything you just witnessed gets multiplied when humans work together. Our neural architectures don't just allow individual adaptation. They allow collective intelligence. She activated one final scanner, and the display showed the brain activity patterns of both humans in the chamber. The aliens watched in fascination as the patterns synchronized, creating a combined neural network more complex than either individual brain. Humans can link their consciousness temporarily, Captain Chen explained. Share thoughts, coordinate actions, combine processing power. It's how we've survived every extinction-level event on our planet. Multiple humans working in perfect coordination, Dr. Vasquez added, each enhanced by stress responses, each adapted to hostile conditions, each capable of conscious biological modification. She smiled one final time. And, Ambassador Flux? There are 8 billion of us. The silence that followed was absolute. Around the chamber, the alien researchers stared at each other with expressions of growing horror. You're suggesting, Ambassador Flux said slowly, that humanity is not just more resilient than we thought. You're suggesting that we've encountered a species specifically designed for warfare. Not designed for warfare, Captain Chen corrected. Designed by warfare. Shaped by millions of years of surviving on a planet that used every possible method to eliminate us. Dr. Vasquez nodded. You looked at human biology and saw weakness because you were looking at peacetime humans. You've never seen what we become when we're threatened. And, now? Ambassador Flux asked. Captain Chan's expression hardened. Now you've threatened us. You've declared us inferior and unworthy of galactic civilization. You've decided that we're harmless prey animals that can be safely ignored. She moved toward the exit, her movements carrying the same predatory grace that Dr. Vasquez had demonstrated. That was a mistake, Ambassador. Because the one thing human biology is absolutely optimized for is proving people wrong who underestimate us. What are you going to do? Ambassador Flux demanded. We're going to show the Galactic Council what happens when you mistake the universe's apex predator for prey. The two humans left the chamber, leaving behind a group of alien researchers who were beginning to understand that their species had just made the worst miscalculation in galactic history. The Galactic Council's emergency assembly had been called to order within hours of receiving Ambassador Flux's urgent transmission. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the crystalline chamber, their expressions ranging from confusion to outright panic. High Researcher clicks and paced nervously across the chamber floor, his insectoid legs clicking against the polished surface. This is unprecedented. No species has ever made such bold claims about their biological capabilities. Claims backed by empirical evidence, Ambassador Flux reminded him grimly. Her tentacles had lost their usual confident color, now displaying the pale hues of deep anxiety. I witnessed the demonstrations personally. Human biology is nothing like what our observations suggested. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vortak Empire slammed one of his forearms against his chair. Impossible. We've monitored Earth for 2 standard cycles. Humans are fragile mammals with primitive technology and chaotic social structures. That's what they wanted us to think, Ambassador Flux replied. Captain Chen showed me recordings of their true capabilities. Humans functioning in environments that would kill us instantly. Individuals consciously controlling their own biochemistry. Collective intelligence networks that rival our best AI systems. The crystalline hive mind chimed with skeptical harmonics. Assessment, impossible. Biological limitations absolute. Carbon-based life forms cannot achieve described modifications. I thought the same thing, Flux admitted. Until Dr. Vasquez demonstrated voluntary control over her own nervous system, neutralized lethal toxins through conscious metabolic changes, and showed me documented evidence of humans surviving conditions that defy known biological laws. Ambassador Viridian of the Longevity Coalition shifted uncomfortably in her biosuit. Even if these claims are true, humans remain a young species with limited technology. They 3 standard cycles after Captain Chen's demonstration to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Flux found herself aboard the human vessel Prometheus, staring out at a sight that challenged everything she thought she understood about space warfare. The Battle of Kepler Station had lasted exactly 17 minutes. Explain to me again how this is possible, Flux said, her tentacles pale with shock as she watched the aftermath through the observation deck's transparent aluminum viewport. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the Prometheus's science officer, followed Flux's gaze to where the Vortak Empire's most powerful battle fleet floated dead in space. 47 warships, each the size of a small moon, now drifted as lifeless hulks among the debris field. The Vortak opened fire first, Dr. Mitchell explained calmly. Their energy weapons are quite impressive. Unfortunately for them, they were designed to fight other galactic species. Flux turned to stare at the human woman. Dr. Mitchell appeared entirely ordinary, medium height, brown hair tied back practically, wearing simple coveralls that showed no signs of the battle that had just concluded. She could have been any human researcher or technician. 47 capital ships, Flux repeated. The most advanced fleet in Vortak space. Destroyed in 17 minutes by 3 human vessels. Actually, the Endeavour, Prometheus, and Darwin didn't destroy anything, Dr. Mitchell corrected. We simply demonstrated why galactic military doctrine needed updating. She activated a holographic display showing the battle from multiple angles. The images made Flux's tentacles writhe with incomprehension. The Vortak fleet opened fire at maximum range, Dr. Mitchell narrated. Standard galactic engagement protocol: establish distance, deploy energy shields, exchange fire until one side's defenses fail. The hologram showed the massive Vortak ships unleashing devastating energy beams that should have vaporized the small human vessels instantly. Your ships absorbed direct hits from weapons that can crack planets, Flux observed. That's impossible. No defensive system can withstand that kind of energy output. You're right, Dr. Mitchell agreed cheerfully. No defensive system can. That's why we didn't use defensive systems. She manipulated the display controls, zooming in on the moment of impact. Flux watched in fascination as the Vorthack energy beams struck the human ships and, simply, disappeared. Adaptive absorption, Dr. Mitchell explained. Human ships don't block incoming energy. They absorb it, convert it to usable power, and redirect it back at the attackers. That's impossible, Flux protested. Energy conversion on that scale would require understanding physics differently than galactic civilization does, Dr. Mitchell interrupted. See, most species developed energy weapons that work by overwhelming an enemy's defensive systems. Humans developed energy weapons that turn enemy attacks into fuel. The hologram continued, showing the human response. Instead of returning fire immediately, the human ships had simply moved. After absorbing their first salvo, our ships repositioned using the energy the Vorthack had provided. Then, we demonstrated why human technology emphasizes mobility over firepower. Flux watched as the 3 human vessels began moving through space in patterns that defied known physics. They accelerated, decelerated, and changed direction without visible propulsion systems, moving like living creatures rather than mechanical constructs. Biological propulsion, Dr. Mitchell explained. Our ships don't just use mechanical systems. They integrate organic components that can manipulate local spacetime fields. It's how we achieved faster-than-light travel without the exotic matter requirements that limit galactic civilization. But, your technology appeared so primitive, Flux said weakly. Appeared being the operative phrase. Dr. Mitchell smiled. Human technology development followed a different path than galactic standard. While other species focused on more powerful weapons and stronger defenses, humans focused on adaptation and integration. The hologram showed the conclusion of the battle. The human ships, now moving at impossible speeds, had approached the Vorthack fleet from multiple angles simultaneously. This is where the real demonstration began, Dr. Mitchell continued. The Vorthack expected us to attack their ships. Instead, we attacked their crews. You killed 47,000 Vorthack warriors? Flux asked in horror. We didn't kill anyone, Dr. Mitchell corrected. We demonstrated something far more disturbing from a military perspective. We showed them that we didn't need to. The display zoomed in on individual Vorthack ships. Through their transparent sections, Flux could see the crews moving normally, apparently unharmed but clearly no longer in control of their vessels. Neurological disruption fields, Dr. Mitchell explained. Humans spent considerable time studying galactic species' neural architectures. We developed systems that can selectively interfere with different types of consciousness without causing permanent damage. You turned off their brains? Flux whispered. We put them to sleep, Dr. Mitchell said gently. Every Vorthack crew member aboard those ships is unconscious but unharmed. They'll wake up in a few hours with mild headaches and the knowledge that human technology can reach inside their ships and turn them off like biological light switches. Flux stared at the disabled fleet in growing horror. But why? Why demonstrate such capabilities instead of simply destroying them? Because destruction would have taught the wrong lesson. Captain Chen's voice came from behind them as she entered the observation deck. Ambassador Flux, may I ask you a question? Of course, Flux replied, though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear it. What's more terrifying from a military perspective, an enemy who can destroy your forces, or an enemy who can capture them intact without harming anyone? The question hit Flux like a physical blow. She understood immediately. Destruction meant death, but it also meant an end to suffering. What the humans had demonstrated was the ability to completely neutralize enemy forces while leaving them alive to contemplate their helplessness. The Vorthack crews will return home, Chen continued, and they'll tell their superiors exactly what happened. They'll explain that human ships absorbed their most powerful weapons, used that energy to power impossible maneuvers, and then selectively disabled their crews without harming anyone. But the psychological impact, Flux began. Exactly. Every military commander in galactic space will now have to consider the possibility that human technology can simply turn off their crews mid-battle. That any engagement with humanity might result not in glorious death, but in humiliating defeat followed by the knowledge that their enemies could have killed them but chose not to. Dr. Mitchell activated another display showing similar engagements across the galaxy. The Battle of Kepler Station wasn't an isolated incident, Ambassador. While we were demonstrating our capabilities here, human vessels were conducting similar demonstrations at key military installations throughout galactic space. The images showed the results. Crystalline hive ships with their collective consciousness temporarily severed, leaving individual drones confused and helpless. Hegemony biovessels with their organic components sedated. Ethereal energy beings contained within specially designed fields that prevented their dispersal. In the last 3 hours, Chen explained, humanity has demonstrated the ability to neutralize every major military force in galactic civilization. Not destroy, neutralize. Every species' military leadership now understands that their most advanced weapons and defensive systems are ineffective against human technology. This is beyond warfare, Flux said. This is demonstrating technological superiority so complete that resistance becomes meaningless. Now you're beginning to understand, Chen replied. Humans don't win conflicts through superior firepower. We win through superior understanding of our opponent's capabilities and limitations. But how? Flux demanded. How did you develop such comprehensive knowledge of every galactic species? Because, Dr. Mitchell said with a smile that somehow managed to be both friendly and terrifying, humans have been living among you for the past 30 years. She activated a final display that made Flux's tentacles go completely rigid with shock. The images showed humans working in galactic institutions, serving aboard alien vessels, and operating in positions of authority throughout the galaxy. The trade delegation from Earth 5 years ago? 3 of those cultural observers never returned home. They're still here, integrated into galactic society. The refugee ship that requested asylum in hegemony space? Half of those survivors are still living on your core worlds. Impossible, Flux breathed. We would have detected human infiltrators. Would you? Chen asked. Human biology includes something no galactic species possesses, the ability to consciously modify our own biochemistry. With proper preparation, humans can alter their metabolic signatures, neural patterns, and even physical appearance to mimic other species. The display showed surveillance footage of humans successfully impersonating members of various galactic species. The transformations were so complete that even close examination failed to reveal their true nature. For 30 years, Chen continued, these human agents have been studying galactic civilization from the inside. Learning your technologies, understanding your military capabilities, identifying your species' biological and psychological vulnerabilities. You've been preparing for war since first contact, Flux accused. We've been preparing for survival, Chen corrected. And, part of survival is understanding potential threats. The Galactic Council's dismissive attitude toward humanity confirmed our worst fears that galactic civilization views unknown species as problems to be solved rather than partners to be welcomed. Dr. Mitchell gestured to the disabled Vorthack fleet. So we solved the problem. We demonstrated that humanity possesses capabilities that make traditional warfare obsolete. Now galactic civilization has to decide whether they want to coexist with us or continue viewing us as inferior. What happens if they choose coexistence? Flux asked. Then, we share our technologies, Chen replied. Human adaptive systems could revolutionize galactic medicine, engineering, and space travel. Our integration techniques could allow different species to work together more effectively than ever before. And, if they choose confrontation? Chen's expression hardened. Then, they discover that everything we've shown you so far represents our peaceful demonstration capabilities. You haven't seen what human technology can do when we stop trying to avoid casualties. You're threatening the entire galaxy, Flux said. No, Chen replied calmly. We're offering the galaxy a choice. Partnership with a species that has spent millions of years learning to survive impossible challenges, or conflict with a species that has spent the last 50 years preparing for exactly this scenario. She moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars where human vessels now patrolled territories that had been considered impregnable just hours earlier. The demonstrations are complete, Ambassador Flux. Every major military force in galactic space has been neutralized without casualties. Every species leadership now understands that their previous assumptions about human capabilities were catastrophically wrong. What happens now? Flux asked. Now, Chen replied, the Galactic Council gets to make an informed decision. They wanted to study human biology? They've seen what human biology can accomplish when properly applied. They wanted to assess our technological capabilities? They've experienced our technological capabilities firsthand. She turned back to face Flux, and her expression was entirely serious. The question is whether galactic civilization is wise enough to recognize that they just encountered something unprecedented. A species that evolved to survive anything the universe could throw at them, developed technology specifically designed to overcome any opposition, and prepared for first contact by assuming the worst possible reception. And if the Council still considers humanity inferior? Shin smiled, and, for the first time since boarding the human vessel, Flux understood why every military commander in the galaxy was currently reassessing their strategic doctrines. Then, they discover why evolution made humans the way we are, Ambassador. We're not just survivors. We're the species that turns impossible challenges into routine victories. And, the universe, Dr. Mitchell added cheerfully, is about to become a much more interesting place. Outside the viewport, human ships continued their patrol patterns among the stars, no longer hiding their presence or their capabilities. The age of galactic civilization looking down upon humanity had ended in 17 minutes. The age of humanity reshaping galactic civilization was just beginning.